say what an amazing, amazing event. And congratulations to all those who have worked so hard on this. It's really great, and they've succeeded in bringing a very multi-generational crowd here. Oh, I will need the mic. Thanks. So we have a very multi-generational crowd here, which is just fantastic. Hello? Okay, we are there. So, for the various generations, we're going to do something unusual before I introduce the living legends. Or maybe I will introduce them, then I will invite a round of questions so that they get a sense of the audience. Then we'll proceed. When Tando asked me to facilitate this conversation, I said, yeah, that's easy. I know Bradon, I know Brawali for a long time, and it's going to be no problem, very easy. And then I sat the other night just going through their bios and their CVs and some of the books that we have on the shelves, and I realized that Tando had handed me a poisoned chalice, because one can spend 3 hours with Don Matera or Donato Francesco Matera. You can spend the whole afternoon and more, because there is so much. Same goes with Brawali, Ngwane, Wali, Seroti. And I also realized something which I hadn't noticed before was what they had in common. And they'll correct me if I'm wrong, but they have in common both born in Sophia Town, 10 years apart. Bradon 1935, Brawali 1944. And between them, I think I can safely say there's almost a century of writing experience. Because Brawali started at the age of 14, at 7. Yes, so there's over 100 years of literary weight here. And so rightfully they have been called or designated living legends. And I will end the conversation with a bit of a discussion on what it means to be a living legend, what it means for them, and what it means for us as a society in practical terms. I just briefly want to just go over, just very, very brief. As you know, Bradon was born in Sophia Town, and his grandfather was the Italian immigrants who married a Xhosa or Khoisan woman, both from the Cape. And he has a very, what's the word these days? A multiple identity, and he will speak to that himself. I don't want to go too much into that. But they are both, Bradon has produced novel, poetry, autobiography, and his work, Memory is the Weapon, is in DVD. And it is just the most amazing piece of work. Those who don't have it, just make sure you get it. And it's a kind of thing you can buy for your friends overseas. It's a very special piece of South African literature. Brawali also has produced poetry, novels, non-fiction, and he's one of the people, I think, before you even read the novel or the poem, the titles are so beautiful. Like the title, To Every Birth Its Own Blood.
Another one, No Baby Was Me.
Yes, so he's got these wonderful titles and many, many books. And I think we can refer to them later in the conversation. But what we thought we'd do, which is a bit unusual, but also to give them the sense of the audience, And what you would like to hear from them is to get the questions first, up front, and then proceed with the conversation. So I think to be democratic, we can have 6 questions. We'll have 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, and just one after the other, and then we can then go into the conversation from there. So I think if we can start this side. Yes. In front there, and then the second one from there as well. Sia, did you want to ask something? Is it 2? Okay, 1, 2. Okay.
I'd like to address the question. Right on. So I owe Pradon a huge debt of gratitude, who, as a plucky young upstart of the Sowetan, showed me a lot of grace, and I value your mentorship till this day. And I just wanted to ask you, what your thoughts are on mentorship, especially among writers, where you might find yourself as a younger writer coming in, and you have an older scribe who takes interest in you and takes you through this journey. Sometimes there's some tensions, because the scholar then starts threatening the teacher, as it were. As I've spoken with a number of participants in this festival, there can be a problem. So what is that process of mentorship, and is the organic mentorship as valuable as the conscious mentorship that can happen among writers?
Okay, yeah, so my question is directed both to the panelists. I'm coming from the bias of a young person today, and the youth of today are very much informed and inspired by both the writings of the authors who are sitting in front of us today. However, we also find ourselves in a disparity whereby the older generation do not quite understand, not understand, but they are not in total support of the movements which we are forwarding in our generation. I just wanted to avail the platform for your guys' opinions and your guys to also open a discourse on how do you guys feel that what is your guys' take on the movement which has defined this generation, specifically Fees Must Fall, because most of the young people are informed by your writings and your politics. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Let's do it this way. The Fees Must Fall question is a big one, and it's going to come, I think, later in the conversation when we're talking about intergenerational transfer of knowledge. So I'm going to note it down and park it for discussion later. I think that's a very specific question about mentorship. So I think Pradon start, because you were talking about it earlier today.
Well, greetings, family. It's there's lots of energy there. I can feel, and also there's a new speak of which some of us have to get used to. I'm good. It used to be, how are you? I'm fine, thanks, and you? And now things at home, everything is good, good. So I'm sorry, thinking too. So I just want to speak on the issue of mentorship. One of the strengths of a nation is the transference of knowledge, of lots of things. We have to say, your grandfather was like this, he, she, they did this, and then it has to be given to the learner, to the young person, in such a way that it doesn't say he's talking down, she's talking down to me. Because we are equal, we are human beings. What has gone wrong for us now is that some of us say, she's white, he's black, he's colored, he's Indian, she's the other. So these categorizations are still prevalent in us. So when a young man comes to me, a young woman comes to me, the Damatera, I want to be a journalist. I say the first thing is, what are your strengths? What do you mean, what is my strength? Have you found yourself? I ask the young one, do you know yourself? I ask her. And if you have found yourself and you know yourself, do you love yourself? And if you love yourself, are you going to be yourself? Or are you going to be the rapper in America? Or are you going to be somebody in a distant place? So you have to understand, it has to be internalized to the young person who wants to be mentored. You come with all your garbage from the home, you come with the good things from your home. You cannot isolate where you come from what you want to become. You have to learn the strength of your family, the strength of your neighbor, the strength and weaknesses of the time. So when I mentored, the first thing I said to the young journalist woman, by the way, 840 I've trained in this country. And the sad thing is, not one says, you know, I was trained by John Martin.
Well, he said it.
No. So the important thing is, you have to know your language that you're going to use. And you have to conquer this language, because it's not ours, this English. You have to conquer whatever other language that you're going to write to. You have to learn to bring words together. You don't speak about just caring. You speak about caring love. You don't speak about healing, compassionate healing. You lock words together. You lock thoughts together, so that when you express them, they go right to the place that you want. The spirit, the heart, the mind. So Mondi Makanya comes from my hand. Ferial Hafiji comes from his hand. I can go on with the names, because mentoring is part of your psyche that you give, part of your emotions that you give. So you cannot want to give half. You have to say to the child, to the learner, there is no pain quite like being unloved, unwanted, among one's own, in one's own land. You have to look at that child that you're talking to, find out whether this child is loved among her own, in her own community, and then you impart. You ask yourself, will the tumor in my fevered mind ever cease its violent throbbing? Will laughter ever flow from the vein of my pen? Because there is no pain quite like being unloved, unwanted, among one's own, in one's own land. And this is the challenge of this country at this moment. Is the child loved? Is the child part? Is the child away? Or is the child, I'll see you tomorrow, I'm tired, I'm watching TV, I'm tired, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So mentorship is a holistic thing. You take all of what you have gathered for the years, lots of years. The nuns said to me at the age of 7, Donald, you be a good lad. We're going to teach you. We want you to take 5 words, 10 words every day learn, take the dictionary, eat it, and spit it out the words. Conquer. And I said to him to conquer. Conquer, not to exculate yourself and put yourself up there, but to bring the people. My motto, if he can remember, was that life is a race. There is no tape where you can run through and say, I won. There is no trophy. There are no medals. It's on your marks. Get set, ready. Before you go, turn around to see who you can take with you. So that
is thank you. That's Don Matera. He talks poetry. I think that takes us to, and I'll turn to Bra Wali here, because there's things that he said about writing in an interview called The Soft Side of Mungano Wali Seroti. I didn't know you had a soft side, Bra Wali. But anyway, here he says, he's the author of 4 novels, 14 volumes of poetry, the first of which, Yakali Nkomo, 1972, won the Ingrid Jonker Prize for the best debut volume of poetry in English. And talking about Biko, Seroti explained that the most pressing aim of the Black consciousness was the formation of a Black cultural consciousness and the free expression of Black South African voices on literary, political, and social levels. Laying open the brutalizing, dehumanizing forces of the system, Black consciousness was to intervene and disrupt racism in all fields of human agency. Dwelling on the paradox entailed in labeling Blacks non-whites, a term that has been widely adopted and which would identify Blacks negatively with reference to the positive white other. Seroti noted that it took him a long time to accept and embrace non-racialism as something he would die for. We saw writing as something that could inspire, record, express, but also entertain. Seroti noted in response to de Kock's, he was being interviewed by the poet de Kock. De Kock's question, Leon de Kock, if writing was seen as part of the struggle in BCC circles. Noting that he became familiar with English poets Wordsworth and Keats thanks to good school teachers in English, Seroti said he started writing when he was just 14 years old. What inspired his writing, however, was the groundbreaking novel Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. It was only after reading Achebe's novel that he realized that everything he had read before was about things that he had not experienced himself. So with that, those words that he said about writing, I'd like to hand to him to talk a little about mentorship.
No, thank you very much. I'd like to pick up from what Baradon said. Because if we don't conquer that, there is nothing we can conquer. And when I say we, I mean Black people in this country. First and most important, Radon says, know yourself. You're not going to know anything if you don't take that step seriously, with commitment and focus, and ask the question and answer it. Who am I? The story about who you are is stories about your father, your mother, your mother's mother, your father's father, your father's mother, your mother's father. Please, those people, having gone through 3.5 centuries of oppression, and you are sitting here, you must be extremely knowledgeable people about life. The odds that they faced were grievous. What did they do so that today you can twang? But also I love the way, when I entered this gate, I thought, where have I been? I saw looks that I've never seen. I saw dresses that I've never seen. I even saw a way of walking that I've never seen. So I posed the question that Bradon has posed for you. I asked myself, if I feel that way, this way, do I know myself? And I agree as I'm sitting here that I have a lot of homework to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you to those at the back. There's space, there's some space here, a few seats here. Kucho, you jump in the queue, but due to your seniority, your advanced seniority, I will give you the opportunity for the question. Then we might as well get the second question from there and end then with the middle section.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. May I say good afternoon to all the mixture of Africans in this group, but also my elder brother sitting in front, but also Eleanor, the facilitator. We met each other in Zimbabwe long ago before she was captured and brought to South Africa. She was well captured. My question really is one which probably is also quite sensitive in this country. Don, you said in your land, do Africans have land? And both of you, both Wale and yourself, can you really say what do we need to do, which we haven't done in 22 years, to make sure that people connect with the land so that they don't say I'm a citizen of South Africa because I carry an ID, but they say I belong. Thank you.
Question from there. Let's take two.
Next question, Batsaf.
Who's the next question?
Thank you so much. My question is for Tata Serote. In your novel Revelation, it seems to me that you make an appeal for a return to traditional African values, and even in rumors. But it's also clear from the novel that the return to a traditional way of life cannot occur as long as the land is in the hand of the white and few. How do you deal with the question of land redistribution? And I ask that question because it seems to me that in the novel, that part is skipped over. Do you really think that there's a way in which Black people can return to traditional values while they have no land to build those traditions on or rebuild them? I guess is my question. Thanks.
So, two big questions, which could actually be a whole day's discussion, but I think we will try to deal with it in a few minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think everyone who's seated here knows something very deeply in themselves. That the question that this lady is asking while it is a very serious question, it is also a bloody question. And I think that is where the problem is. You see. Let me tell you a story and then come to this question. Around 1991, 92, when I was heading the Department of Arts and Culture, we were instructed to create collectives which were going to create a new flag for South Africa. And we did that. We called experts, all kinds of people that got together. And after all kinds of discussions, deliberations, process of elimination and so on, we came out with 3 flags. And then we looked at these 3 and then came out with 1. I remember very well that I got into a car in Kempton Park and I was heading to what we call Shell House. At that time there was a meeting of the NEC or the ANC, and I was going to show them the flag that were chosen to get their opinion. As I was entering the door, somebody who had been driving very fast behind me arrived and said, "I want to talk to you." And he said, "Look at that flag." And I explained it. And I didn't see anything wrong. He said, "Please look at the flag." I looked at it still. He says, "That flag has 5 colors. Where is the other color?" And I looked at it. For the first time I realized there was no black color in the flag. So I did not enter that door. I turned back to where people were creating, and I told them, "We can't take this flag." We debated, deliberated the space of the black flag, of the black color in the flag. Eventually we got it. Now you have the only flag in the world which has 6 colors. There's no other. And it's the only flag which, if you show it to a child, the child will produce it very quickly. That's what we wanted. He said, "We must put in a flag," because a flag is a conscientizing symbol in the world. If you talk to the child and say, "Count the colors," they count the colors and say, "Create a relationship between the colors," the child can produce it. The only flag like that. Why am I telling this story? I believe that at the point of us sitting down and brainstorming and exploring how to create that flag, most of the people who were there were of high consciousness about the political situation in the country. I am sure about it. But all of us, for some reason, became blind to the color black. So once I realized that, I said to myself, there is a consciousness that we have to develop about ourselves. And that's why in my opening speech, I spoke only to black people in this place. You are not going to be free yourselves until you have a consciousness about yourselves. You are not going to be free. So the question is, what must we do to have this consciousness? And the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because whether we like it or not, first of all, you must accept we believe everything that white people said about us. Everything. That's why I speak English now. We believe everything that white people said about it, and they never said one positive thing about us. So you have all of this to reverse. Having said that, I do not regret that when I picked up arms to fight, my consciousness when I started, I said, if I pick up a gun, it is to kill all white people. That's where I started. And I am happy that I was eventually conscientized to understand a deeper thing that I'll talk about later. But we're not going to understand that thing until we know who we are, first and foremost.
Thanks, Radon. Do you have anything to add to that?
It's heavy questions. I'm prophetic. I come from a prophetic family, deeply religious in Christianity and Islam, deeply understanding because I was nullified by the nuns. What we are saying to you now must either be taken with a pinch of salt or with a bag of salt. The land, there's no poet in this country, I challenge anyone who has published, that has written so much about the land. This land, south of Africa, the whole land, each grain of sand, north to south, east to west, the given earth, the best land, the prostrate valleys, the angry mountains, the smiling hills, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country has been freed. But this beautiful country and all of its land has not been healed. I have continued to do that. So I say, I don't have the panacea to save the land. What we have done wrong is we have racified this country. We speak about the white race. Who's the white race? The white people. Who are they? Who are the black people? Who are the colored people? Who are the Indians? Aren't they African of African origin? Your constitution is a racial constitution. It's not a racist constitution. It is a racial. It acknowledges the white race. It acknowledges the black African race. Who's that? It acknowledges the colored race. Who's that? It acknowledges the Indian race. And then it has the box number 5, the other race. You guys have a lot to do because I don't have the time to do it. I want to make a statement here. When I'm buried, Dlamini said, no one is white. The Roman Catholic Church started this thing centuries ago. They made God a white man. They made Jesus a white man with blue eyes. They gave him blonde hair and everything. And then they had to find the opposite, black, the devil. And they made us the devils. So finally, you guys have to wake up. Don't ask your government to solve it for you. You have to solve it for yourself. There are no white people in the race. What is the tribe of the Jews? The Hebrews? They've got Khoisan blood. The Ethiopians have Khoisan blood. The Chinese have Khoisan blood. The Indians have Khoisan blood. They must understand, you must understand, that this thing cannot be solved by Brawali, Don Matera, nor our moderator. You have to ask yourself, but who the hell am I? Who am I? Am I a white woman? My grandfather was not a white man, he was an Italiano. Italiano is not white. Because the Moors conquered them and they slept with Moors and so on. I can go on and on. I don't have the panacea for you, Professor. I would like to see this land, because there's something called the way you can take the land away from people. It's called the Domain. No, there's something domain. Imminent domain. Look it up in your phones. Eminent domain. Eminent domain is a law that says we can take this land if we are going to use it to house people, to build schools and so on. We can take it. It's called eminent domain. I don't have the panacea. All I want you is to teach your child that your child is a human being first. My child, you are the best that God has created. You're not white, you're not black, you're not green, you're not yellow. And you will have to choose. I feel better. My son, Umangaliso, goes to a shop and he's light skinned and his 5 guys says, hey, Busman, ufuna nla Soweto. That's how. I whip Busman. So they attack him. They stab my son. They hit my son. So what? How do I sleep at night? So you guys, the politicians don't have the answer for you. You are the answer, as Brawali has said.
Wow. It's hard to talk after that, but I just want to comment on Jesus with blue eyes and blonde hair. One thing which Bradon and Brawali have in common, that they both won the Noma Award for publishing in Africa. And I must say, I also won it in 2004. I think that's one thing I have. But I went when they had the big award ceremony in Ethiopia. They had friezes from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and these friezes started from the first year after Christ. I mean, I think they're the most ancient religious friezes that exist. And in all of them, it was so fascinating to see that through the centuries, starting from the beginning, they had, and these are made out of leather, goat's leather, beautiful friezes. And then Jesus was dark. He was Ethiopian in the early ones. And then you see the centuries, it just became lighter and lighter and lighter until the modern Jesus. It was quite fascinating to actually see the whole thing. But yes, so the questions of identity, belonging, alienation, land. Let's carry on the conversation. Mr. Kumalo, would you like to come sit? Mr. Kumalo, would you like to come sit with us here? Yes. Come join us. So if we can have 2 questions, yes? Okay, I'll give you 3. Starting.
Thank you. So such an honor to have a panel that's so distinguished and accomplished. The one thing that struck me, and this question has come up in other panels, right, in the previous panel. So I'd be curious from Abu Babala, who were your female contemporaries when you were writing, right? When we talk about legendaries, a lot of times, it's like it's very male dominated, right? So who were the women you were boxing with, and I mean sort of in terms of thought and ideas, right? So who are your contemporaries in terms of that writing? And then the second part is around language. So this idea of mastery of language, I think, is a useful framing around how we're able to, the tools that are required, but at the same time, so what would be the translation required for us to have the same kind of mastery of our own languages? And that's to both of you.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Nami question namje iyasondelela. Like with apartheid, people were given, let's say, a black experience, a white experience, if you're of that color. And then Untate Serote talk about when he picked up the gun, it was like, I just want, maybe one of them was to kill, let's say, white people per se. But now, you are a human being and a black human being. how would you describe maybe the transition from writing solely as a black with a black experience to writing also now as a human being who happens to be black but writing for a human experience per se?
Greetings to everyone. I'm very grateful and pleased to be here in presence of living legends. I would like to speak about the issue of race, which has come up and which is still a very thorny issue in South Africa. And I heard the two panelists, our elders, speaking about that issue. Ntate Robert Sobukwe speaks of a one human race, which I agree with biologically. But we have to agree that economically there is different races that have been invented and which are a reality. So to that effect, I would like to direct a question to Ntate Serot. When he speaks about the issue of non-racialism, that to him is the issue of non-racialism an ideal that we're fighting for? Because existentially we don't have non-racialism. How do we speak about non-racialism in a racial country? Not only country, but in a racial world. And the second question perhaps is directed to the both panelists on what is their world outlook and how do they come about in adopting that world outlook. And maybe briefly directed to Ntate Serota. He's got a book that is called To Every Birth is Blood. We are at a stage right now, if I might paraphrase what Stephen Bantu-Bokepiko said, that there will come a stage where in South Africa we'll have a few black people filter into the so-called middle class strata, and the majority will leave as of yesterday. It seems to me that we are at that stage. In line with the book that he wrote, it seems to me that we need a new birth. What is your view, Ntate Serot? Is that new birth going to be a bloody birth, or can we do it within the framework of the current constitution that we have? Kalebo.
Thank you. On your last point about the worldview, what is the worldview of the writers? I think for people who've written for over 50 years, each of them, I think if you go through the literature, I'll excuse them from that question because you'll get the worldview if you go through their work and read their work in depth. And I think there are a number of articles which I dug from my archive and which I also came across, which really give good insights into their worldview and their literary traditions from which they were coming. There's a beautiful article by Richard Reeve looking at black poets in the 1970s. And I think on Don Matera, there is a lot of analysis of his work. I also want to just respond to the issue of language. There was a question about language. I think this has disappeared. Can someone help me? The mic just shut. Okay, maybe I can shout until someone comes and sort out the mic. But I think I just want to say about Don Matera in terms of, he's one of the people I've admired in terms of negotiating identity in South Africa. Because as he's explained, he's got a very complex and multifaceted identity and origins. And he is
and why is it complex?
Can I say?
Why is it complex?
Well, why is it complex? Maybe it's normal, but also he speaks many languages. He has embraced all the identities and he speaks all these languages. And when we talk about language, it's not only language, it's also register. Because in each language, there are different registers. There are the ways you speak to old people. There are the ways you speak to your age group. There are ways you speak to older people. And I had the experience of going to the UNISA honoring of Don Matera, where he was honored with a honorary PhD. And it was so fascinating to hear his address because he started with Tsotsi Tau. And he started with this a few minutes as if he was talking to his peers in Sophia Town. And then from there he proceeded, the range of registers in his presentation, by the end of it he was talking in a very literary language. And that's something that I must say I really admire about him. The ability to master many different languages, but not only different languages, the different registers within in those languages. I'll pass to Comrade Wali to talk about, to address the questions which have been raised, especially on the Constitution.
I'm glad that the Constitution, which was uploaded internationally, is under scrutiny at the present moment. It should be. It was written at a certain point when the nation had reached a high of idealism. And that is what I think Bradon is talking about. And I say that because when I'm with Bradon, I am totally not conscious of him having been called colored. But many times in the past, when I crossed the barrier and went with him to nuclear, I became aware that I was really colored area. Why? Because of the way the people looked at me, because of the way the people spoke, because of the way people did things. They were very different. And that is South Africa. Please, let's not deny this. We deny it at our own peril, because we will then not be able to mend and do what has to be done. We cannot deny that there's been hard racism in this country, implemented in many facets to ensure that the white race, it is there, the white race, that it dominates. I agree with Bradon. The responsibility is on us to find a way to take that myth away and kill it. There is no white person. But we have to kill that myth. That lady there who asked me that question is a very serious question that she asked me. I'm not going to go around it now, I'm going straight for it. Black people were pushed into 13% of the land in this country. 87% was given to white people who were defined as white. It is a very wrong arithmetic. There is 75% black people here who are living in 13% of the land. It cannot be so. Until that arithmetic is corrected, there are black people, there are white people. When Thabo Mbeki put it on our agenda and said, there are two countries in South Africa, one black, one white. Please, let's not deny that. All you need to do is take account. We're sitting in a black area now. The majority of people who are here are black. And this was one of the most poor places in this country. It was a labor camp for white people. You can't deny that. If you deny that, you are denying it at your own peril. We must accept it is like that and say, like Bradon says, we don't want to live in a country like that. We want to live in a country where there are human beings. Now, in the same way that political freedom was born of a gun, we may have to arrive at that. It is very comfortable for white people to sit in 87% of the land. Very comfortable. Where they own different properties, live in the best part of our country, and we are in the West. Everything from the bottom of this land as their own. and we act it out for them. That is a reality, black people, which we must correct and shift to the ideal which Bradon is talking about. And I'm saying to you, I'm speaking to you the way I speak, and I said to you, I do not regret that I became Umkhonto weSizwe, which Liberation Army was fighting for non-racialism. I don't regret that at all. I'm grateful that my elders taught me to accept that position. And therefore I know what I'm fighting for. I know I'm fighting for something very positive for our country. Unfortunately, the reality is that privilege is not even easily abandoned. The white people in this country live in utter privilege. It is going to be very difficult for them to just to say, take it. We as black people must understand that and resolve. I'm asking you to resolve. This geography must change. It can't stay like that. How we change it? First, we shall talk as I'm talking now. We shall say to white people, find a way to abandon this thing and correct this situation. Correct this geography peacefully. Find a manner in your being to say, I can't have all when people have little. When you sleep tonight, think about this, whether they will say yes. Think about it. But also think about something else. If they say no, what are we going to do? Thank you.
You did address the issue of your female contemporaries of the time.
Oh, yes. You know, I think many people were seated here. All of us were brought up by grandparents, grandmother. Many of us here. I was brought up by a very loving grandmother. I never know what it is that I should do to thank her for the utter love that she gave. And I know a lot about love because of that. My mother was somewhere working, my father was somewhere working. This grandmother, one day I said to her, you know what? I want to be a writer. She kissed me. She had a way of dealing with me. She put me between her legs. And I would say, oh, my little boy. But also the other thing is, I'm named after her husband. Ngwane is my grandfather's name. And she would say, my husband has spoken now. Why am I emphasizing this? Much later when I looked back, when I looked over my shoulder, I realized how much she had taught me to try and question my being an African man among African women. And I discussed it with her. After that, I became aware of Alexandra, the role that African women, black women, play in Alexandra. And I've gone to extensive lengths to try and understand it. I don't know if I understand it even now, but I go to extend. The last thing that I will say is this about this question. I was recruited into the ANC by a very beautiful woman. And she held me on and said, you said you wanted to be a journalist. I said, yes. What are you going to write about? And we discussed this over and over and over and over. Eventually we arrived at saying the only way to do it is to be part of the struggle. So she was my commander. Her name is Joyce Sikakane. Beautiful woman. Later on, when we were arrested, under severe torture, I was asked a question which you are asking me. Why are you keeping close to women in your struggle? And I did not know what that question meant. And what they meant was there was Joyce, there was Masi Sulu, There was Winnie Madikizela Mandela, who was our direct commander at that time. There was Mantingana. There were many women around us. To understand that, the question that you're asking me, I made a conscious, deliberate action. I mean, a commitment. Eleanor knows my commitment. I'm at the present moment writing the biography of Mary Ruth Mompati, precisely to answer this question that you're asking me. I spent a lot of time with her, talking to her, and I suddenly realized, you know what? As African men, we must find a manner to be as close and loving as possible to the African women. And I'm putting loving here in general terms. Because Mary Ruth Mompati was an outstanding woman. You know, at 27, she found herself in Moscow, training to be one of the first women in Umkhonto weSizwe. Before that, she was the second tier of leadership after Lillian Ngoyi, Rahima Musa, Sophie Dubrain, and Helen Joseph, who led the march to Pretoria. She was the second tier. I asked her, what was the second tier doing? One, they had to make sure that each and every woman, 20,000 of them, have the petition. Two, they had to coordinate the women to leave from wherever in this country to arrive, dodging police, to arrive in Pretoria. Thirdly, they had to ensure that the women go back safely back home. Now, she had the responsibility to organize the women from Lihurutse, which is near Zirast, about maybe 250 kilometers from here. She was organizing them, shuttling backwards and forwards. Now you sit in this room and you look at this woman, a very pretty woman, very, very firm, very loving. And I discovered 20 young women who trained directly under her, who were in Angola training as soldiers. She went to them and gave them a challenge. She said, "We are 20 in this camp. There are 500 men. If you want to fall in love with all of them or don't fall in love." Tough question. So they said, discussed it, and they decided we're not falling even with one of them. One day, Eleanor and I must bring those 20 women to you so that you talk to them. And I'm putting them in front because I knew them very well when we were in exile. So, your question is correct. It gives me further homework to still look over my shoulder and say, by the way, what happened to all the women we were with? I can say to you, you have all the reason to be very proud of them. The majority of them. You have all the reason. And if it were possible, we should sit them out so that they sit in stages like this and talk also. So that we find ourselves, both men and women, so that we find ourselves. Because the battles they fought are very different from the battles that I fought, being in Angola. Thank you.
Thank you. On the issue of the 20,000 women, one of the things that really irritates me is the representation of the Women's March as if it's just one mess of 20,000. It doesn't actually deal with the many stories of how people got there and the different experiences they had. And the fact that at that time they had no cell phones, they had no, the time doesn't matter because of the two people beside me. But I am a daughter-in-law to the Sisulu family. I'm Eleanor Sisulu. I'm a writer from Zimbabwe. And Bradon, I was writing a book about Walter and Albertina Sisulu. and I interviewed both these legends. And Bradon was very availing of information. And then in the process, he said to me, I must come and see Masisulu, I must come visit Mama. And he went into the detail of how he knew them from way back. And he came to visit, and we called all the young people to come, and Don Matera is coming. So they were all gathered there. And then Don said, you know, Mama, yes, I haven't been well, Mama. You know, I've had cancer. And 2 doctors saw me and they told me I've got cancer and I've got few months to live, 6 months to live, he says, and that was 5 years ago, and both doctors are dead. So Don Matera is a survivor, and it's such a privilege that he had outlasted his doctors. He's still here with us, and he can read a poem for us.
Thank you very much. I can't read. I would just like the young lady to know I challenge any poet in this country that has the collection of so many matriarchs in his work. Miriam Makeba, Requiem for Dolly Rateba, Lillian Ngoi, Dream Walkers for another lady whose name misses me, Nadine Godimer, Black Woman Newswoman, poems for them, a bulwark for Ruth First, sapling for the mother and daughter that were bombed to smithereens in Angola. I just think that the Makeba one, Miriam Makeba was not liked by everyone in politics. Miriam Makeba was the queen, not only of music, but she was the mother to make us understand. Just a few lines so that you know that I have held all the women. I have Masi Sulu here. I have too many women that I've honored. This book should have been given and put into the school. But some people said, hey, Don Matera's books in the school, in the university, he makes the white child feel guilty about the past. And the black liberal says, I nearly put his name here, and the black liberal says, we don't want his work in the schools because it makes the black child angry. The black child will say, Mother, why did you leave it so long? Why did you allow these people to push us like this? So it didn't make the schools. So it says, just a few lines, this song, this fragment of a nation rejoicing, this unity of love for a revered matriarch is for you, Miriam Makeba, voice of Africa's vision and its deepest dreams. We salute you, African Queen, you who wept against the indifferent moon, traversing the shores of strange lands, standing attention to foreign flags, alienated, tolerated nomad of the struggle. And it goes on. It says that we, I just want to stand for this one. You have children. I have a collection of work for the child of tomorrow. The child of yesterday died for the liberation of this country in June 16. Some of them, we took them out in thousands to join MK, APLA, Azanla, and so on. They are 56 years old now. That was 40 years ago. They are 55 and they have children. What about their children? So Don Matera is a collection that says, child of tomorrow. And I'd like to show you a small piece of work. I have left both heartbeats and footprints in many ghettos. My dreams and aspirations on broken lampposts, hoping that the fervor of my caring love and healing compassion for my people and my land will drive away the darkness from the dreams and lives of the yet to be born. Yet to be born. The children of America, of South Africa, the children of tomorrow waking up to a new Azania. Now the French word sans means without. Waking up to a new Azania, a new South Africa. Sans tribe. Undijonge kahle ndimxhosa mina, angso Khaya mina, angso Mlauli. That is how we speak. Ungibuke kahle mina ngwaZulu mina. Na mina nimchangana. Nabata nehisa xikolo mina. Abandranzi. I burn the schools because they don't love me. I burn the clinic because they don't care about me. Because I am Tsonga. I am Vatsonga the Shangan. Yini Shangan. Slaninje. That was the way we speak. So Don Matera says, sans tribe, sans class, sans uniforms. Why must the children of tomorrow wear uniforms? Why must the children of tomorrow carry guns to shoot, to kill, to fight? When we have the solution in our hands, like Wally says, it is in our hands. There are no white people who say, you know me, I'm actually Jewish really, I'm not white. I'm Italian, I'm not white. I'm French, I'm not white. But we hang on to the white tag because the white tag is the way of power and money and owning the minds and owning everything. Nelson Mandela, I stop. You know, God is a strange God. I want to leave this one with you. He created an African Messiah called Mandela, so that the whites, so-called whites, were not driven to the sea. They would not lose their homes, they would not lose their possessions. Nelson Mandela came and he changed the history. So now you and your children for tomorrow, how are you going to handle this question that Wali paid? Think about the child of tomorrow. Ngwana wamabane ifit ufetile. June 16 ufile. Ngwana wamushu. That is the way. So mina nangati amachangana. Nashibalabula, nashihimbelela, nashitsala. I'm so proud. The only language I didn't speak is Chivenda, because the girls used to run away to them.
Now, we have to, I know people are dying to ask questions, but I think we have to have some of the poetry, because I want, for those who haven't read, I want to tantalize your literary taste buds. So you go from here and you read Wali Seroti and Don Matera. So Prawali is very shy. I don't know why he's in old age he's become quite reserved. And so I'll ask Fred, he's sitting in that chair, so we have to make him work for his chair. So he will read, I think, a very special poem that speaks to alienation people feel in our cities.
Thank you. Sis Eleanor, you hijacked me. I'm not a legend. So I've been asked to read this poem, which is a tribute to Johannesburg. It's called Joburg City. It's a fragment of a very long poem. Travel on your black and white and roboted roads through your thick iron breath that you inhale at 6 in the morning and exhale from 5 noon. Joburg City, that is the time when I come to you, when your neon flowers flaunt from electrical wind. That is the time when I leave you. When your neon flowers flaunt their way through the falling darkness on your cement trees. And as I go back to my love, my dongas, my dust, my people, my death, where death lurks in the dark like a blade in the flesh. I can feel your roots anchoring your might, your feebleness in my flesh, in my mind, in my blood. And everything about you says it. That is all you need of me. Joburg City, Johannesburg. Listen when I tell you, there is no fun, nothing in it, when you leave the women and men with such frozen expressions that have tears like furrows of soil erosion. Joburg City, you are dry like death. Joburg City, Johannesburg.
And then I must read this one because I'm preoccupied with children and creating a better life for children. And this poem references two children who died, Hector Peterson and Katrin Schoon, who died in a bomb blast with her mother, Jeanette Schoon. Once a child sparked our hopes with its eyes. Its gait, this child, once, would leap into the air like a gemsbok, with laughter which rang of joy, a joy glowing like the headlights of a car in the night. A child, Hector, Katrin Schoon, ours, bones, blood and flesh which promised to seize the future. Our blood, this child, our flesh, our hope, whose curiosity pins our adult life, urging it on. It was a promise that the present can be lived. And then the bullet came, the bomb, blind, mad with speed and sound. It sprawled the little bones on the dusty street. It spilled and splashed blood on floors and walls, leaving us cold with disbelief. For me, that poem, I am anti-war, and I am anti-war for children, and that poem speaks very deeply to me that black children cannot afford more war, or any children cannot afford more war. I suspect we've gone over time, but we'll take two. I see two people there that are burning, or three, and then we'll have to stop. And we must speak then about the living legends, because we have to speak to practical things that we must do.
Thank you.
Okay, please. But then if we're going to take two more, then people just have to be very, very quick, please, so that we can be democratic with the time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eleanor. We'll cut out all the big talk. I was going to say it's such a privilege and it's so stimulating to be in the presence of these giants, including yourself. But I'll cut to the chase. I want to talk or go back to the question of land, culture, and identity. And I'm glad Wally is here. I won't even say Brawali, because you are my contemporary. We all went through the struggle. South Africa experienced many, many years of struggle. And when we got to the settlement, the post-apartheid settlement, we did not include the question of self-determination. And this distinguishes us from many other post-colonial settlements where if you go to Nigeria, they fought against the British or they had some struggles, as Azikiwe, Nandis of this world. But the question of who owns the land was a given. The land belonged to the Africans who lived in Nigeria then. And the land still belongs to them. I think at our point, and I'm trying to draw this because I want to ask a question, whether you think this is germane to the conversation we're having, that perhaps we overlooked when we went to Kudesa, we went to to all the settlements, even the constitution that we are talking about having to be reviewed. The question of who owns the land never, or if it was touched, it was, touched with kid gloves. We ended up with freedoms, human rights, the right to movement, the right to equality before the courts and so on. And could it be that this is where we lost it? Because today, and going back to the literal world, I'm cutting short a whole lot of things I wanted to say on the land issue. But linking it to the question this lady posed. Today, when somebody reads Don Matero's works, and I must confess I've read much because your poetry is really sophisticated, and you go to Wali's poetry, a South African child reading today is going to have that sense of alienation, that identity crisis that we're talking about, because this question of ownership of the land really supersedes everything, because the settlement we came to was arrived at from the point of view of a white minority culture that is and was the dominant culture of the time. Hence, we do not have that sense of us as Africans or any other, let me say, but not owning what settlement we came up with post-94, and hence we still don't understand, we still have issues, we don't know who these freedoms are for. Thank you. I won't go to decolonization because I wanted to, but I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you. She just asked part of the question I wanted to ask about. Isn't it supposed to be obvious that when you win, when you become independent, the land, we don't even ask questions, it goes back to the people. But I also wanted to ask, do we even have place for a narrative that was put in place by the first people, the Maya, the Khoi, the Native Americans, who said the land doesn't actually belong to the people. It is the people who belong to the land. Thanks.
Beautiful. Quickly, two more, please, and then we have two.
Kilewi, dumelang baholo. Ke tlo kopa ke le ntshwelle ka hanong Ntate Don o bile le potso tse tharo. Have you found yourself? Do you know yourself? Do you love yourself? Are you going to be yourself? Which were four. And in the process of trying to understand or coming to myself or understanding myself, elders in the homes, the stories of our parents and our parents' parents, who, when we talk about ancestry or we come to them with questions, there is secrecy and there are gaps. When then do we ask? Who then do we ask? How then do we become ourselves in the presence of these gaps? How do we consolidate and unlearn? For a child like myself who grew up who was born into Christianity, and to have attended many lectures where we were also told we are the lost generation because we do not know who we are, is Tete Zetu or is Nyanya Zetu, or where we come from. How do we reconcile that? How do we consolidate that? How do we then come to a place where we know ourselves in light of Christianity and why Jesus and Badimu ba rona le dithoko tsa rona re etsa jwang? How do we learn what we must learn? How do we unlearn what we were never taught? What do we take? What do we leave?
Thank you very much. My question is about land distribution. I come from Zimbabwe, where land distribution has gone horribly wrong, or maybe that's the war you were talking about that we have to fight to redress the balance. But in going wrong, when you were trying to redress the balance, I grew up in a generation, in a mixed race society, mixed race school. And you were told white is better, white is better. And then when the war that black people fight to take the land makes you look back to the days when white people owned the economy, my question then is, do you think we are going wrong as black people that in Zimbabwe has got a situation where when we take over schools, most of the time the standards go down. And when, as black people, when we take over, then that doesn't do well for a person who grew up in a confused society where white was better. So as black people, I think we also need to also think of that, because we all come from what I call the damaged generation. And the things that go on don't do anything to redress that damage, because we have that whole, oh, when black people take over, this is what happens. Thank you.
Okay, I think we were told we've got 5 minutes left, and we have to talk about the living legends issue, which is really very important. I just want to say to this question of what happened in Zimbabwe and the rest of Africa, all I can say, I can't prescribe answers, but on this issue of land, Zonke, I'll correct you, in Nigeria, land doesn't belong to the people. Saruwiwa's generation and the Ogoni people can tell you that. We need to look at the rest of Africa. And in this whole conversation, nothing about being on an African continent with the experiences of Africa, bad and good, have come out. And I must say, as a person coming from Zimbabwe, who has lived in other parts of Africa and come here to South Africa, I'm really pained sometimes and feel very alienated by the fact that conversations here, whether they're by black people or white people, make no reference to the rest of the continent. So I just want to put that out there for a conversation to have at another moment. Right now, Ethiopian people are having land taken away from them by a revolutionary Ethiopian government. So this is much more complex than black and white in South Africa. We have to address the young man asked there about the fees must fall, and I'd like both Pradon and Wally to talk about this. Then we have to talk about the living legends. I don't think we can go without just saying something about that.
Well, us oldies, when we heard hashtag fees must fall and hashtag roads must fall, we became very, very proud that our young people were now engaging in the real issues of our country. We were very, very proud. I would like to add that those two things need to be put into a context. I understand that you have to fight for the interests and needs that you have. But those interests and needs that you have arise out of a context. So we have to understand that context. There are 3 things which, besides land, or together with land, have not been addressed. There is extreme poverty in our country. Extreme. It is here in Soweto, not very far from here. If you go to any of the squatter areas, you will find extreme poverty. The figures for unemployment are very, very high. And whether people like it or not, there is still apparently serious discrimination in our country. And many of the people who will go through university and get their degrees and so on are going to experience very fierce discrimination in the workplace. So when we talk about hashtag fees must fall, hashtag roads must fall, this is the proper context where we must put it. Because that context will assist us to define where is the major problem in this country. It will also assist us to very quickly arrive at understanding the question of land. This extremely important issue. If we raise it in isolation, as I suspect, as I now and then feel it has been raised, there is a very serious problem that it can easily be derailed. I was very apprehensive when I heard Tulima Donsela go to Wits, I'm concluding, and say, I'm glad that you raised the question of hashtag Wits must fall. You are leading your elders. It's not possible. We can enter into a conversation, but the young people can't lead the elders. Thank you.
Our organizers are begging us. We need to finish. We could go on. And in a way, I sabotage myself because I really wanted to talk about the issue of the living legends, which is a project of Department of Arts and Culture, and which is a huge problem that we don't have Don Matera or Wali Seroti in the schools, that we only have not more than 10 libraries in this city of 3 million in Soweto. And that's a whole conversation that our poets and artists of this caliber struggle, many of them, to sustain themselves. And I think as an outcome of this festival, I hope we will have a situation where we can prevail on those who have budgets, who choose books for our schools and libraries, to make sure that the books are available. To the young men from Fees Must Fall, I can say to you, nothing is new under the sun. Many of the conversations you are having, you'll find in this literature, so please read it. Thank you. Thank you very much.